Giving you a little Tankers going fucking Hollywood with the Voodoo Child out there today. Alright, and we're going to kick it off for you with some Week 14 matchups. And I know it's Week 14, either your fantasy playoffs have just started or they're about to start next week if you're one of those leagues that only has 4 teams go to the playoffs. But either way, this is crunch time, people. And we're going to give you some good matchup, bad matchup situations going through position by position here. And it's kind of a sit-start, but you know, can't really tell people who to sit and start out there. You can just kind of give them like it.
Give them a little boost when they feel like they need it.
Yeah, you know, tell them way down the line what to expect out there on any given Sunday, baby. All right, and let's lead off with some good quarterbacks. Here's some Phillip Rivers playing against the Panthers. And the Panthers are giving up the most pass yards a game, giving up 295 fucking pass yards a game. And they're also giving up the second most fantasy points to quarterbacks. So I think it's all systems go. I know it's in Carolina, but I think it's all systems go, Phillip Rivers, this week.
And you got Jameis Winston, who's got, he's been riding that it's kind of a train wreck at this point, roller coaster ride, up and down season, but he's playing the Saints in Tampa. Saints giving up the third most yards to quarterbacks. I mean, almost 300 yards a game. Not to mention the third most points to quarterbacks on the season.
Oh, yeah. I mean, another guy, and Andy Dalton. I know he's lost A.J. Green, but old Andy Dalton went out there and threw for 332 yards and 2 touchdowns without him last week. And he's going into Cleveland to play them godforsaken fucking awful Browns. And my goodness, the Browns are giving up the most pass touchdowns to quarterbacks and the most fantasy points to quarterbacks so far this year. I think it's all systems. I mean, if you're on the ropes and it's like Andy Dalton or say like Marcus Mariota who's playing against the Donkeys. I mean, Marcus Mariota, you've been riding him for the last 2 months. He's been your sexy boy. But against them Donkeys, I'm thinking about temper expectations. I mean, you might have to play matchups out there. And a guy like Andy Dalton against the Browns, I mean, all systems go, Andy Dalton, this week. If he can drop 3 for 30 and 2, he can definitely repeat that against them Browns. What do you think, Bears?
And a guy who's got a good matchup, but I think you really need to look at the weather situation because it's in Green Bay. But Russell Wilson, I mean, that's as good of a matchup as you can get. The banged-up secondary, the Packers D looking absolutely atrocious, giving up the 4th most pass touchdowns on the season here.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not slippery and wet, I mean, even if it's a little, it's going to be cold no matter what. But if it's not slippery and wet out there, I might give old Russell Wilson a nod this week. Oh, moving into some bad quarterback matchups and staying in the same game. Flip it over with Aaron Rodgers against the Seahawks. I know there's no fucking chance you're going to bench Aaron Rodgers no matter what. I mean, he is playing at home. In a sloppy game last week, he still gave you 2 touchdowns and a pretty reasonable performance out there in just a shit show blizzard last week. But the Seahawks are giving up the 3rd fewest passing touchdowns to quarterback, so that's something to temper on some expectations with.
And Marcus Mariota, we touched on him a little bit earlier. Now, the game is in Tennessee, but it's still against Denver D here. And we're talking about the Denver defense who's given up the fewest in passing touchdowns this year, as well as the 2nd fewest yards this year through the air.
Oh, I mean, woof. I know Mark Mariota playing at home, coming off his bye week, but I just don't think you can have any kind of, confidence in starting him this week against them Broncos. We got Luck versus the Texans, and pretty tough matchup. The Texans only giving up the 5th fewest points to quarterbacks. And another guy in Luck who had a very solid bounce-back game last Monday night against the Jets out there looking pretty sexy for you. So, I don't know. I mean, you got to start Luck.
Yeah, I still think he's going to be an elite quarterback 1 play of the week here.
Yeah, run him out there. One more. We got a couple more. My bad. We got Stafford and the Bears are surprisingly kind of stifling out there. I know it was the shitstorm weather, but Colin Kaepernick only had 6 net pass yards last week. I mean, my fucking goodness. And the Bears are giving up, only 236 pass yards a game, which isn't that heavy in today's NFL.
How are they doing it?
How are they doing it, man? winning when we shouldn't out there. It's just some crazy Bears. I mean, my goodness, don't you want a better draft pick, Bears?
You're trying to win?
Trying to win just seems insane right now.
All right, another tough matchup. Dak Prescott going against the Giants. Now, obviously, he didn't play all of week 1, which they ended up losing because Romo was still... Or no.
No, Romo hasn't played all year. Romo hasn't played all year.
Right. The only loss out there that he's got. But the Giants giving up the 4th fewest touchdown passes here so far in the year. So a tough start.
Well, tough start for a borderline quarterback one play right now. So I might give old Dak the bench this week. I mean, the Giants are still getting up 280 pass yards a game, so they're not like totally like wasteland out there for quarterbacks. And one more bad play, we got Ryan Tannehill against the Cardinals. They're giving the fewest pass touchdowns and the 3rd fewest yards of quarterback so far. They're only giving up 218 pass yards a game. So I mean, Ryan Tannehill is in no way like a put him in kind of guy right now. Just put him on the bench and just let him stay there. They're moving on to some good running back action. Who we got out there? Lead it off. Oh, we got another hotline, baby. I'm in love with it. All right, let's kick it up here. Tankers Fantasy Football. Hello, Tankers.
Oh, what's up, guys?
Oh, is this Hard Cox guy from last week?
Oh, yeah, you fucking busted me, bro.
Listen, man. I mean, I can take your questions and shit, but I mean, I'm gonna have to hang up on you if you start talking about them Hard Cocks again.
All right, I'll try to refrain myself. Hard cock.
Oh, for fuck. I fucking warned him. I warned him. That son bitch. This motherfucker. This better not be him again. I swear to fuck. If it's him, I'm gonna answer because it's my job. But this better not be him again. Tankers Fantasy Football. Hello? We get prank calls? People aren't even... Oh my god, Jesus Christ. Seriously, guy, enough with the fucking Hard Cocks. I get it. You're loving on the Hard Cocks. I get it. They're wasting valuable airtime here, trying to give people fantasy football advice, and all you want to do is call in and yell at me about Hard Cocks.
Let's get into the running back plays here.
Get into them running backs.
Good matchups. Let's start it off with Devontae Freeman. Coleman's not looking like himself coming back from the injury. But Freeman is going against the Rams, who you think's pretty stout. But they're giving up 135 rush yards a game here.
Yeah. I mean, they look good for a couple week stretch there, but so far, I mean, Tevin Coleman, too, hasn't really been pushing up too much cheese on him. I mean, Freeman's been out there being that sexy boy, definitely been getting the lion's share of these carries, and I think Devontae Freeman's the type of guy that you might have to lean on coming to these fantasy playoffs here. Well, another good matchup in Matt Forte. I know the Jets are just a complete fucking shit show out there, but he is playing the Niners, and they're dead last in the universe against the run, giving up 180 yards rushing a game, which is the most, and giving up the most touchdowns, but they're almost giving up like 2 rushing touchdowns every game. I mean, my goodness, and I know Matt Forte's kind of been a big letdown for you. It kind of had spiked at the beginning, then he had another 2 or 3 week run at the middle of the season. But I don't know. I mean, I think Matt Forte might be a very solid RB2 play this week against them fucking Niners.
And Spencer Ware is another guy who's kind of been disappointing as of late. But he's got the Raiders, who are giving up 150 rush yards a game. And, I mean, they're averaging giving up a rushing touchdown a game as well.
Yeah, Spencer Ware had a nice bounce-back week, putting up over 20 PPR points for you. Made me feel I shit all over him last week, giving him the hate train. That's what usually happens. You know, I shit all over a guy, and he goes out there and shines for me out there. Must be pissing him off. Might have been Spencer Ware.
Must be watching too much Tankers.
Yeah, Spencer Ware's on the Tankers saying, how dare that fat fucker talk shit about me. I'm going to go out there and drop 20 fantasy points. You just watch.
Well, I hope this next guy does the same thing here, coming off a 2-point performance.
I just got no faith in Lamar Miller and any virtue. This whole Texan offense is a complete shit show. Complete shit show. I mean, the Colts are giving up the second most points to running backs this far, and I know you're going to have to run Lamar Miller out there like you have been all year. But I mean, well, wait. Wasn't his only sexy boy performance of the year a 30 burger in PPR against these Colts? I think it was. Well, I mean, I don't know. Starting with confidence, I mean, I'd say at least get you, I don't know what,
Hopefully at least
10?
get you in double digits
10 or
here.
12. I mean, but I guess the ceiling's a little bit higher with the Lamar this week. Moving on to Jeremy Hill and maybe a little Rex Burkhead getting a little sexy action out there, but they are playing against the Browns. They're getting them the second most rush yards, and that's 160 yards a game, which is a lot of money. That's enough yards to go around for both of these dudes out there, and they're almost averaging giving up 1.5 rush touchdowns a game. So I think you might look for Jeremy Hill to get his ass in the end zone, and that's basically the only thing you can hope for him.
Pretty much
season.
touchdown or bust with
Yeah.
him. Another decent play, maybe more of a flex option. Darren Sproles going against the Redskins, who have given up almost 5 yards a carry, but he's going to have some value through the passing game as well. So I think he can be a pretty good start for you.
You can
this
almost
week.
write Darren Sproles down for catching 5 or 6 passes out there. I mean, in PPR leagues, he is definitely a solid RB3 flex play. Some bad news plays, and LeGarrette Blount has kind of been your steamrolling blunt trauma sexy boy thus far, but he is playing against them Ravens this week, and I just don't know. I mean, he doesn't catch the ball, so in PPR, this might almost be a sit because the Ravens are giving up the fewest rush touchdowns and the second fewest yards to running backs. I mean, they're just fucking stonewalling out there.
Another tough matchup. Got Jay Ajayi, who you've been riding this whole time, going up against Arizona D, giving up the fewest rush yards in a game in fewest of anyone in the league, and not to mention the third fewest fantasy points overall to running backs. So not just through the ground, but as well as covering them out of the backfield.
Very tough matchups for two guys who have surprisingly been saving your football season when LeGarrette Blount and Jay Ajayi out there. They have very tough matchups to start the fantasy playoffs. They do. It's tough. Another guy with a pretty tough matchup is Jordan Howard, and the Lions are giving up the second fewest touchdowns to running backs. And I know Jordan Howard went out there and punched it in 3 times against those shit Liner 49ers. But I think you're going to have to...
I think we're going to count on a quarterback completion in the first quarter this game.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I know you're probably going to start Jordan Howard as an RB2, but I'm just saying the Lions' D is more stout than people give them credit for out there. Oh, another bad news. We got Rashad Jennings, and the rest of them giant bums. The Cowboys are giving the 4th fewest yards and the 5th fewest touchdowns to running backs. I know these bums really haven't been on your radar, but they probably should stay off because the Cowboys are fairly stout against the rush out there thus far.
And one more tough matchup for you. We got Thomas Rawls, who looks like he's back to form there, but pay attention with the injury as well. He left the game with it would appear to be a concussion, but we'll see what goes on here. He given up going against the Packers, who are still 3rd in the league somehow in rush yards allowed.
And it's in Green Bay. It's a little slushy, and if he's on the field, it might favor the run game a little bit. So, I mean, maybe this turns into a positive for old Thomas Rawls if he suits up against them Packers. Kick it to them wide receiver actions. Leading off with the vicious and delicious combo of Amari Cooper and Crabtree. We're playing against the Chiefs, who are giving up the most yards to wide receivers.
Very surprising.
Very surprising. The Chiefs' D was coming into the season, and the secondary is talking stout, but thus far, they've been just giving up chunk yards to wide receiver all year long. Who else we got out there?
Got a little Doug Baldwin facing that Green Bay secondary, giving up the 3rd most touchdowns to wide receiver, as well as the 2nd most fantasy points to receivers on the season.
Brandon Cooks kind of been up and down. Thomas had a very sexy week, went out there and got you 8 points against the Lions, but they're playing against Tampa, and they're giving up the 4th most touchdowns to wide receivers. So I think, especially Michael Thomas, is definitely an all systems go wide receiver 2 play this week. I'm kind of more on the borderline of Cooks as wide receiver 3. You never fucking know with this guy.
Yeah, definitely feast or famine. More like the Jeremy Hill of the receiver position.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm falling out in love with him at a very fast rate. We got another combo.
Got a bounce back. I think a dual bounce back here. Tough matchup last week against Jacksonville, but D-Train and Emmanuel Sanders, I think they get it back against the Titans this week. giving up the 3rd most yards and the 5th most touchdowns to receivers.
Oh, yeah, we should be looking at a solid bounce back, especially if Simeon somehow suits it up for him out there. We should definitely
Yeah,
be
get
looking.
Paxton Lynch out of there.
Definitely. I mean, Emmanuel Sanders was just loaded with targets. I think he had double-digit targets last week, but he only converted like 3 of them.
Yeah, I think both can be in the wide receiver 2 radar this week. Here.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And Jamison Crowder and the rest of the Skins, D-Jax and the like, are playing against the Eagles who are giving up the 2nd most yards to wide receivers a weekend. I didn't know. Them Redskins just like them chunk yardage out there, chucking it deep. Kirk Cousins, huck 'em, chuck 'em, football. Kirk Cousins, baby. Oh, day. And we got some Patriots wides. Edelman, Mitchell, and some other motherfuckers like that. I mean, I don't know. I think Edelman and Mitchell might be the only 2 you can start because Amendola and Chris Hogan are kind of bums out there. But if you picked up Mitchell after we told you on the waiver wires late Tuesday night, we released that late video, and Malcolm Mitchell headlined that show, and he has been the absolute PPR sexy boy deluxe.
Averaging about 18 points over his past 3 weeks here.
Sexy boy deluxe in it out there. And I mean, if he's still available with Gronk out the rest of the season, there's a lot of targets to be dispersed. And the corn really, I mean, Martellus Bennett hasn't been doing a goddamn thing as of late. So I'm thinking more, it might be Edelman, it might be the Julian Edelman show, and it might be the Malcolm Mitchell show moving forward in your fantasy playoffs. And if you need a little boost at that flex play, I think Malcolm Mitchell is your sexy boy.
It looks like Jeremy Maclin could be coming back here. And if he does, perfect scenario here. Him and Tyreek Hill both going out there against the Raiders, giving up the 5th most passing yards to receivers. And it is going to... The Thursday night game, we actually have a good Thursday night game.
I don't know if I'm ready to start Macklin, though. I don't know. I think I might lean on Tyreek, but I don't know if I'm ready to start the Mac Daddy.
Macklin hasn't really shown you anything before his injury.
Middle and bumming out there. I don't know. I think I'm starting Tyreek Hill over Macklin all day until further notice.
Yeah, desperation play, I think, only for Macklin
all
at
fucking
this
day
point.
Until further notice. What do we got, baby? Moving on. Cincy wide receivers. Bringing a fell like motherfuckers. Maybe some Tyler Boyd. That's darkness from the realms of Moria out there. You don't want to deal with that shit. But the Browns are giving up the 3rd most points to wide receivers. So if you're looking and you need it, Brandon Fell did kind of have a pretty sexy, solid game for you last week. I think he got over 100 yards. And if you're looking for him to repeat that performance, I think there is a solid chance that could happen against them Browns.
And that same game on the other side, we're talking about some bad matchups now. We got Terrell Pryor, who's kind of flirting with that wide receiver 1 for the year in PPR. But since he's just given up the fifth fewest yards for receivers on the season here, so tough matchup for anything Cleveland at this point.
Yeah, I mean RG3 is supposed to even start out there at quarterback this week, so who knows what to expect. What we got? Packer wide receivers against the Seahawks. We're giving the 4th fewest touchdowns and the 7th fewest points. No, I mean...
I don't think you can sit him, but I think it's definitely a temper expectations. Maybe a sit on Cobb, but I think if you got Jordy, you're easily keeping him in there. And Adams, I still think you got to throw him in your lineup.
Oh, yeah, let's get it down to more. What we got? Landry and Parker playing against the Cardinals defense. I mean, I don't know if you can even think about starting either of these bums against the Cardinals out there. I don't think you can. And A-Rob, I mean, my goodness, A-Rob has just not been anything, and his matchups just don't get any better. He's coming off a shitliner against the fucking Donkeys last week, and he's looking for another shitliner against the Vikings, who are getting up the 2nd fewest yards and the 4th fewest touchdowns of wide receivers. This is just awful.
It's back-to-back sits for A-Rob.
Oh, my goodness.
All right, let's hit into some tight ends here. Get some good ones. Jason Witten, I think he gets a catch this week here. It snaps about an 8-season stretch.
2008 was the last time he was held catchless. That happened last week, and I might have to repent to the tight end gods out there and maybe give old Pepper Witten with some targets this week. And he is going against the defense that's giving the 4th most yards and the 7th most fantasy points to tight ends in the Giants. What am I doing? Did I fuck it up?
No.
Alright.
All right, your boy Jimmy Graham
Jimmy Graham.
got into the end zone last week.
Jimmy Graham.
The goal, sucker. Hulk Hogan, we coming for you, nigga.
Oh, Jimmy Graham is coming for you, especially this week, and going against the Packers. We're giving up the second most
It
yards.
might be the start of the week for tight ends.
I think it is. I think he's gonna double barrel, and he's gonna put it in their butt out there. I think he's gonna show it to the Packers, baby. And one more good tight end matchup in C.J. Fedorowicz, going on the fucking Colts.
He's really been the only reliable possession
awful.
guy for the
How many
Houston
times?
offense.
How many times is Osweiler gonna dump it off 5 yards to Fedorowicz? I mean, if you're in PPR,
He's-
you're loving it.
He's 5 catches for 50 yards every game.
Completely insane. Completely insane, but he has borderline tight end one production. And it's happening. All right, some bad matchups. What we got for some bad matchups out
All
there?
right, start off with the sexy boy Delaney Walker, but going against that Denver D, just giving up the third fewest points to tight ends there.
All right, we got more bad tight ends. Reindeer games. The Jags surprisingly tough against all pass catching opposition out there. And what are they giving up? They're giving up the third fewest yards to tight ends. I mean, Stonewall Jags out there not giving it up through the air very much this year. Jags.
No, they got a solid D. They just have a hard time staying off the field with that terrible offense out there.
Oh baby.
Couple more quick ones here. We talked about picking up Dennis Pitta on that waiver wire action, but I think he might be a stash away this week. Going against the Patriots, 5th in points at tight ends. Sid Ebron, Sid Washington tight ends.
Oh, I don't know if Jordan Reed plays, you gotta suit him up, but if he doesn't, Vernon Davis is definitely a solid sit against them Eagles who are giving up, what is this? The second fewest yards to tight ends. Baby, is that it? Is that the show? Kick the goodbye horses off early.
Thanks a lot for watching. Make sure you follow us on the Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube. Leave your comments. We love your questions.
We love the questions below. Who do I start? This is fucking crunch time, people. We want you to win, baby. We do want you to win. If you got any bubble questions, just we'll send you what we likes and the smokes. You make it happen, baby.
See you next week. Good luck.